What's good, people? It's your boy, Icarus Gray. And this is Gray Area Anime, the most wonderful podcast of your day. And we are back with another one. I said back with another one. Kirby says, hi. It is dangerous to go alone. So I choose you guys to go on this journey of everything anime, gaming, and everything geekdom in between. I'm back with my boy Eugene to introduce a new segment to you guys. And this is New Game Plus. And I'm just going to tell you right now. New Game Plus is basically like a new lease on life for me, right? It's where I'm going to discuss how games affected me, changed my life, inspired me, but also in so many different ways helped me spiritually, helped me in a way of guided me and kind of guided me to things or illuminated things for me because of whether it's an ability for discernment. Like when I think about my wisdom and the fact that I know these things intrinsically, whether it's gaming or whatever, the reason I know them is to help others, and a lot of times people can make these mediums seem separate from God. And that's much like we said, I think, in the 50th episode, not the case. The person who created us also created them, which means he also helped create the mediums that all of these things exist on. And my big promotion in that is there is a truth in all the things that you watch. There is some truth. I mean, I can't do horror and all this other stuff. I'm not playing those games. That's not what I would do. But there is a truth somewhere that is either misshapen, misformed, whatever the case may be. But there's something there that can be illuminated. I'm not that person. I know that there's somebody out there. You're probably doing a podcast right now talking about how to discern those things. And I promise you, I'm praying and encouraging you because I can't do it. But anyway, so here with this, I just want to kind of talk about that from that experience. I don't think there's a voice for that here. I think a lot of the times the voices get dampened because there are so many who don't have discernment that get influenced or get taken up by whatever it is that they're doing, that they're not able to properly do it the way that I know that I can. And that's why I even started this podcast, was to be that person. It's I started this podcast in the middle of accepting my call to preach and everything else, and kind of trying to illuminate the person that I am, the person I was created to be, the situations that I was placed in, the people that came into my life, the way I see different characters and things of that nature. And because when I accepted that about myself, I entered into the New Game Plus. So I know the game, and now I know how to play it, and I got all the abilities of everything I had before, and therefore I'm able to fight the way that I need to fight. So with that being said, because this is a podcast about anime and gaming, for the first time, I am going to talk about anime and gaming for the first time in a long time. Because it's one of those things that are near and dear to me. One of the things that I've always done longer than rapping, the only thing I've done longer than rapping, is watch anime and play video games. And what they kind of mean to me and how they kind of illuminate the person I am. And to do that, we're going to talk about first our favorite games, and then we're going to talk about our favorite animes, and then we're going to talk about what that means and why that's important for you, the listener who could be my age, the listener who might be younger, and just all the listeners in between. So first off, what is your favorite game?
Okay, favorite game, standalone, or favorite game series?
Ooh, let's go series.
Cool. Final Fantasy is the favorite series.
Okay.
But my favorite game, it still counts. It's Kingdom Hearts. So the
that 100% counts.
Is the merging of all things nostalgia, right?
Yeah.
So then the mind etched a way to experience the visuals, the
Yeah.
art, the craft. But the concept of what the Final Fantasy series does for me is more about how my brain responds to my life. Is that I see these caricatures as a way to etch my angst or worry or desire into that mode, and it allows me to play out something where I can experience the life. So New Game Plus being something that you can receive and go achieve the next day. Well, before I even had any ways to look at those kind of concepts, I put all my hurt into the PlayStation. And Final Fantasy X is my favorite out of all the Final Fantasies.
That's crazy.
Because it allowed me to kind of be lost in a universe, but relate to created characters. So,
You know what's funny about that, especially that one for you, is it's thinking about the fact that spiritually they fight sin.
yes, sir, brother.
Not only do they fight sin in that game, the main character is a dream. Like Titus is a dream. And that spoiler alert, Titus, my bad. I did the Titus thing, my bad. Blitzball, best game. Like I need them to add that to something.
It was so
just bring it back. Best thing in the world. Like I was the king of that game.
Oh,
like
man.
dog. And I would just have Duty was had a pronunciation for T.
Titus.
Again, because I almost did it again. But Titus, like dog, I was messy with him. Had him everywhere. Like the other people, like they would level up, and I had them leveled up. But dog, I'm scoring 7.
That's impressive.
8 goals with him, bro. Because I was just so into that game. But
I felt like the Besaid Aurochs the whole time. I couldn't figure it out.
Oh, dog, listen, they stood no chance. And then the other thing that's the first Final Fantasy I got close to beating, and the first one that I was like really deep on completionist stuff. So I got a lot of the summons or
Monster Arena.
Yeah. Oh, listen, but anyway, so I get it. So that's your favorite series, and then your favorite game is 10. So my favorite series, I'm gonna cheat. Because here's how I'm going to cheat.
I kind of cheated. I said Kingdom Hearts too.
Well, I'm going to cheat even further, which is just to say Square Enix, period. It just doesn't even matter.
Son, I agree with you.
Don't even matter what they do.
Hey.
And the reason being, so like if you think about Super Mario RPG,
Yes.
which is Square Enix, and Nintendo, which they're using Mario, which is a precursor in the same way to Kingdom Hearts. And so the Final Fantasy series in and of itself was one of my favorite things in the world. My favorite other series, technically not my favorite game because we're going to talk about that in a second, is 8. 8 was my favorite because I just like Squall. I liked the
space
school
opera
aspect of
romantic opera.
and just the storytelling.
Yes.
Because even I forgot that
Cypher.
not Cypher, but the witch whose name I can't think of.
Ultimation. Renoa.
Not Renoa, but the one you initially think that you're going after, the president, or is it president or Principal Sid's wife?
Is that Ultimation?
I think so. I just can't remember. She has
either
like a
that-
real name.
Wasn't there like this daughter who grew up to be? Wasn't it Laguna's daughter that grew up to be Ultimation?
No, Laguna's technical son is Squall.
Okay.
But I don't know why I can. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But the boss that you think is the boss is not the boss.
Okay.
And that was like amazing to me. It was
Mind
also the
blowing.
first Final Fantasy that I got to the second disc of. But that's not my favorite. But what inspired, and I'll take your mold. So what also inspired me from there was these cool characters who, against all odds, were choosing to do good and do right by people. They always have those characters, no matter what types of characters were in your party. It always felt like the disciples in a way to me, like because it's a hodgepodge of people, and it's like not the best people, quote unquote, or not the people that they're not perfect people. None of them are, and they all deal with their emotions and everything else. So, but speaking of, I'll get to my favorite game. So my favorite game series is Square Enix anything. Like I'm about to get back on Octopath Traveler 2 for the Switch at some point because I just love the stories, and it's the first time that they're like all like 8 different characters with 8 different stories, and it's just like overload. Oh, before I get off of this, I gotta remember Final Fantasy Tactics is another one that was my favorite because I love the chess aspect of games. And so they did that well too. Like they don't really miss very often. There's a couple like one-offs that's probably done by like a company that I don't necessarily agree with or whatever the case may be because there's no depth to the game, but neither here nor there. So my favorite game in the RPG realm, because that's what we're talking about, because that's our big thing is RPGs, is a game that's getting remade that's going to come out 2 days before my birthday on November 2nd, which is Star Ocean Second Story R. That game is my favorite RPG because it's real time. So yeah, you level up and everything else, but like
so night is night.
Real time strategy. So in terms of like the battle is not turn based.
Okay.
So when they go in, like you're actually action. Like you got combos, you can change your little moves and everything.
It's like Final Fantasy 12.
15.
12 did the same thing.
12 was a little more like
mixed hybrid.
12 was like Xenoblade.
Okay.
Like whereas 15 is more like
it's like 17.
It's
I
like,
haven't played 17, but 17 is supposed to be the best.
16?
17. The new one. The
16.
one that's been out.
16. Because 15 is the one that came out last.
15 was the one that was in the midst of the online 16.
No, that's 14.
Just talking about 16. 17. Okay.
I promise you. I'm gonna show you after. Just trust me. Trust me. Because look, I'm also upset that I don't have a PS5 yet. But anyway, we talked about that. We talked about like when we upgrade, it's gonna happen.
Yes.
So yeah. So Star Ocean was just great. Like it's a space epic, another space epic, which is funny. But I owned this one before Final Fantasy VIII. And it's just really cool. They're using space and time. Like there's character systems. There's cooking. Nice. So for me, like at that time when I'm like watching Emerald Lagasse and Food Network and all this stuff,
bam,
like hey, come on, son. Okay, but that made me feel like seen because I liked the sim quote unquote style of being able to like do different things in this world. So it wasn't just about like, hey, I'm fighting this bad person or whatever, and A to B, I just turn-based stuff. Like there's other things that I can do. So it allows me to engage with the NPCs.
It's like a Tamagotchi.
Behind you. Yeah. Check me out. What I did right now is I pointed in studio. I had my Tamagotchi that I got in 2007, which is still in there. I had a little carrying case for him and everything.
That's awesome.
But anyway, I like that. Because it was so cool to like do the arenas or do the cooking. You had characters that you can only get. Like you can only, if you pick one character, you lose an opportunity to get another character in your team. Because it was like 4 people
see, they
per
have
time.
multi playbacks.
Yeah.
To get everything.
So New Game Plus. Yeah. It's like, again, so like that was my first. And what crushed my heart about it and why I'm so glad this remake is coming out, because it'll be the first time that I actually get to complete the game. Because the game was 2 discs. It cost, I think $20 or $40. I can't really remember because at this point, like, it's hard to figure out those things. My grandmother gave me the money. I went to Walmart back home, and I go and I get the game, and dog, I'm playing it, like leveling up. It's crazy how much I love this game and love the different stories. And I get ready to go to the second disc. Don't know how it happened, but it was broken. And this is in the day where I'm not, my grandma ain't finna give me no more money to go back and buy this game.
So it's an incomplete game.
Yeah, at the time. So this is going to be a new experience for me, and I'm going to get to go through with like whatever, a lot of different stuff. There's another game that I play that I really, really like, Persona 5. The only thing I don't particularly that I always like will warn people about with the Persona series is they deal with teenage angst, but they deal with it in like a visual way that will seem like they're not dealing with it. And I'm just going to trigger warning for like whoever, like it can be real extreme. And Persona 5, what's funny about it being my favorite is like they are pulling and taking from everything. So there's they use the characters in and of themselves that are involved in the game, and the NPCs are all on the tarot names or whatever that stuff is. I don't know it, so I don't outside of the game itself. But at the end of the game, they also have been, the whole fight that they've been fighting is against the Holy Grail. I'll explain it. It's just, but they're talking about desires and why I like the game or whatever. It's like, it's just dope in terms of the story, at least. Like all the other little stuff that I'm like, that ain't my cup of tea. That ain't what I.
This probably leads into the topic of what we're talking about, the idea of the game and all of the content.
Yeah.
It could be misleading if you don't have a grounding on what you're observing.
Oh, what was the first game that, was it Final Fantasy X that like opened your understanding of that discernment?
No.
Or
it was Grand Theft Auto, and I knew it was bad, but it was fun.
Wait,
What?
really? Okay, so what? Okay, so take me through, because you still played it. So how were you able to?
I didn't.
Didn't?
I've evolved from my understandings, right? But Grand Theft Auto 3, and then Vice City, and then San Andreas, knowing that I found joy in like beating people up and getting away with things and running from the cops, there was an active, I guess you could call it rebellion in church speak, that was
I like
intriguing.
church speak.
But the idea was, it was also, nobody's getting hurt. But let me tell you this. So my first accident in a car was because I thought I was like, oh, this is like Grand Theft Auto. I'm going to bump into a bumper and then speed through it, and it's just going to turn. It didn't happen. I was at Costco and hit the bumper and tried to get it off my car by accelerating through it. It didn't work. So there's certain things that my brain principled into the category of real. And this is why it is amazing, right? It's conditional based upon what you believe.
Wait, okay, so technically that's not the question I'm asking. So I'm asking more so like, so for me, Final Fantasy X could be one of those games for me, because the story wise, I immediately took the story and mentally fleshing it through my discernment. I know that I'm always fighting sin. I know that I'm always fighting against it, and that was my encouragement in playing this game. Like, so all the other stuff that like might go on in it, that was my encouragement. And it might not have been like the first game, because I'm pretty sure like before then, like there was just this sense of being a hero, even if you're not the main character. And by being a hero, I mean being good to people, like being good to those around you, like
positive discernment.
Yeah. Because the thing about it that you have to, because you got to understand the negative, but you also have to understand like these games still shape me in a way that has made me a better spiritual man because of the things that I was able to filter out.
Well, thematically, the common part of it is good is evil, good versus evil.
Right.
So if the idea,
you just made that so simple for my brain. Go ahead.
So if something like, I used to play Dragon Quest. If you've never heard of it,
I have 11.
Oh, see, so you do know. And there's great depth in these stories. One of my favorite all-time games that I didn't pick as my all-time favorite is Mass Effect. So the paradigms. You could be good, you could be evil, you could be in between. Something like Fable, also one of my favorites.
That's another.
I would always try to like live up to the light, and then I never really wanted to be the dark because there was no fun, there was no joy in being evil.
Right.
So that might be the first one where I could say, okay, I know there's a choice, and I said no to even trying to do the bad way. But the idea of like these games as concepts. And the depth of what me and you find out of them. There's little details in just certain things that you can point out. Like, for instance, in Mass Effect, when you have the choice of, talking your way into like scamming somebody or doing the good deed, there was actual joy found in pressing a button and saying, okay, I'll do the hard stuff. I'll do it just because it's good, rather than, I don't want to spend an extra hour and going to do something the long way. No, it's like I found no guilt in doing the extra hour. But the random connection between that is that there's a certain thing that we do to help other people as Christians that could have been deeply rooted in us even before we were acknowledging it.
Right.
Is that like when somebody, does something for you, you appreciate it. Well,
Right.
what if we're getting that same feedback when we're doing it for somebody who's made up in a video game? And it's developing in us that habit, that ability to say, okay, I'm going to take this mission. I'm going to go and collect your cat from the tree, and I'm going to bring him back to you, and it won't be harmed for whatever I'm getting. For
I love how you did this side quest of like the side quest that we know we don't like sometimes, which is like, ma'am, why am I going to find your cat? Like, why did you lose your cat? This town is all of 3 houses.
Yeah.
Like in terms of what the game was capable of. But like what's funny about that is, so I think about that in terms of like something. So when we're talking about Grand Theft Auto, right? So San Andreas, Vice City, I forget who I got that from, but San Andreas was the first game that I pre-ordered at GameStop. I was 16. So I was not old enough to even have this game. But they didn't ask no questions. When I came in there and pre-ordered, got it, had the book, everything, right?
The Grove.
So I remember playing the game, and you know what it illuminated for me is I didn't think those things. The one that got me, and it wasn't even a game, it was a movie, and we'll probably talk about that one day. And it was Fast and the Furious. Like
first one, right?
No, it was
Tokyo or Tyrese?
It's probably 4.
Okay.
It's probably 4. I feel like it was 4 because I got my car at 2000. Whichever one I have to look, whatever came out 2010.
Bow Wow.
Definitely after Bow Wow. We don't even talk about Bow Wow. The only thing good that came out of that movie is Han, and shout out to my dog. I'm glad they brought him back instead of. Anyway, what man. But the positive effect of of how I looked at that game was the cinematics of the story. Like they literally took like Boys in the Hood or Minister Society, and there's the funny like radio stations and stuff that like is known for Grand Theft Auto that like, it is what it is, but the cinematics of it.
The richest. CJ from the Grove to Hollywood.
From the Grove to Hollywood, the fact that when you talk about people betraying you.
Yeah.
Like you like really? Like when you get to that point and you done did all this stuff and then your dog, like, and you gotta go and do this stuff, like that. Those kind of aspects are like the glowing aspects of the good I would take, because I'm like I'm not doing all this stuff, like but I already had some other stuff outside of that before I came in. Like I had a solid want for real relationship. Mm-hmm. So since I was in elementary school, I wanted to get married and grow old with somebody. Literally, it was the desire. It was what I wanted. And because of that, like even the stuff that you get taught hormonally in your group of 13-year-old boys who don't know anything and are gonna lie through their teeth about everything because whatever, like we're testosterone in each other out because it's just been introduced into our body and we don't know what to do with it. But like I always wanted that, so like even the little stuff that would like happen, I'm not affected by it in that sense. We'll talk about that at some point. I'll tell you how it would, because it's a funny thing and something that I like think that I can help somebody jump over an obstacle for, right? But those were the good parts about the game. That I'm looking at this cinematic, I'm looking at these actors. The fact that it was like one of the first games that I'm recognizing all of these voice actors. In fact, like Samuel L. Jackson is a voice actor on this game. Mm-hmm. Bun B is in this game, I believe. I think Ice Cube was in that game. I can't remember. It was a whole bunch of people from the West. Snoop was in that game, I think. And you're thinking about this. You're seeing the world. You're seeing how they like created it. Like these things excited me about like the dynamics of it. And it inspired me in a way of feeling like, dog, this thing that I like, even these people that you consider thugs, gangsters, everybody else that they wouldn't necessarily consider me a thug or whatever, like are involved in it.
So what was the message of the movie? The media, the whole, I guess, motivation that you could see they were using these characters from our.
So a lot of times the motivation is always, you can reach your dreams and you don't have to continue doing the things that you're doing. Because if you think about every character, like no matter what it was they were doing, right? and they would do all these bad stuff. But every one of the characters, like we say all the time, inherently wanted to be good. Like, it wasn't just about the money, especially when you talk about Grand Theft Auto 4 with Nico. Like, Nico is an immigrant wanting to just, like, make it. And, like, it's tragic what ends up happening to him, towards the end or whatever. But that's more a product of you can't be involved with a certain lifestyle and not. And that was also a positive thing to me. It's just kind of learning, like, you can't be involved with a certain lifestyle without certain consequences. You just cannot. No, there's no way to do that. But aspiring for your dreams, aspiring to go out here and really kind of change your environment. As you grew older and you grew out of Grove and you get to the other houses and things of that nature, the fact that you can elevate.
So how does this relate for both of us to Final Fantasy? How does these kind of games themed? It's an action RPG, so to speak. So it allows you to experience, right? So the experiential part is probably what we get a kick out of because you can do everything, go lift weights in San Andreas. So when we start to condition our mind to take care of something, it's allowing us to make that part of our brain active. And because we're seeking to fulfill something, this might sound a little over the top, but it's not relative. Is that the idea of what we're looking through the Christ lens for, and speaking of these things, is to help other people who may not be where we're at yet, be able to look at a game and realize what it does to fulfill them, so that they don't try to seek to supplant the Lord. Because my goal is to get everybody who hears my voice to Christ. So whatever that does for them, it's not meant to manipulate. It's meant for them to methodically understand that this is all about manipulation. So if you can look at it and understand you're not going to be manipulated, then you can start to see the matrix, quote unquote, and participate. So the goal for me and you is we're retroactively able to look at our history as playing these games and say the message was not lost upon us.
Right.
So that the method is what we're trying to help improve.
So to answer your question, because think about Final Fantasy. So the thing with their characters, right? Majority of the games, you're always fighting against whatever their world's version of a god or godlike person is. And I never thought about it in a way of, like, my discernment is like, I'm not fighting God. I'm fighting who's fighting against.
Yeah.
Like, because that's what those, a lot of times they embody. They are man-made things, man-made creations. Like, even these, they're an idol that's going to get taken down. Like, it doesn't matter how high up the ladder you climb or how strong you are, like, you're not going to win to the overwhelming positivity of people. Like, when I think about all the stuff that we got going on in America or whatever it is, you not, like, at the end of the day, I know it looks crazy. It looks bad a lot of the time. But it's not going to prevail over, like, the positivity of people coming together in community, especially not in regards to us. It's just not, and that's what the games gave me a lot of, is because every time I would look at it, it would kind of illuminate something for me. Like, I will move to the animes now in terms of my favorite anime. Godly. Of all time, I probably always say, I just love Bleach. But the reason I love Bleach is because that's how I envision spiritual warfare. Like, I envision myself fighting against, like, those that are hollow. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, like, I just see that kind of thing. And so, oh man, see, y'all, I'm old. So sometimes I lose my train of thought in the middle of what I was saying because I had a good point. But when I'm thinking about, that's what it was. When I'm thinking about anime, so a lot of times, that's my favorite, and then we'll get to your favorite when I make this point of, there's so much hurt sometimes in anime. And a lot of that comes from World War II in terms of things that have, like, happened. So in a lot of animes where they talk about anything, quote unquote, spiritual by the standard of this anime or whatever. It's normally under the guise of a Catholic viewpoint of that. There's an anime, Devilman Crybaby, right? And so in this anime, there's a guy who is like, he's this devil-like creature or whatever, right? And, you know, he's fighting against, they always have a lot of things where they're fighting against these angels who are basically the devil in terms of like, in terms of their vanity, in terms of how they feel about humanity and everything else, but how they're presented is like, well, this is how the angels have thought all along, and actually it's the devils that care about people. And it's like, that's not true. Like, it's just not true. But whenever I would watch it, it just illuminated certain things for me or certain thought processes. What I talked to you about off air about the bigger love that I felt, I got that from watching anime. Like, that made me like think about that question of, if you could just poof something out of existence, but you didn't, that shows this. And I was able to filter that through because I'm like, all of this fighting, no matter how we juxtapose it in each of these different things, especially like with the storylines that they do, the authenticity of it comes from a place of hurt. And I was able to see that hurt. And I'm able to see that hurt because I'm like, well, I probably wouldn't like, y'all either if like you just did this to my homeland and now you coming and telling me this. That's contradictory, bro. Like, I'm reading this like you definitely didn't, you know what I'm saying, approach me with love. Like, there's still ramifications of that. Like, here, like in our water levels, fam, like, all these different things. And it's like, when I was able to see that, it gave my heart posture something for the people and being able to say something for them. So a lot of times when I watch stuff, that's why I give the different disclaimers that I give, or I like break something down, or, I separate myself in a certain way of like, but that ain't truth. I see where the story is going, and I'm going to stay with this character because this character, I like that. I like what we got going on. But the perpetuation of falsehood and lies is like, that's what this is. And like, it's the same thing as the best illusion in the world is watching an action movie, right? The reason I say that is because an action movie is only but a fraction different from a horror movie. And the reason that is because we'll watch an action movie. You start the action movie, a little old lady gets kidnapped. Little sweet old lady by a man, and she's the mother of a man who's trying to change his life, who just got, reformed. He got out of the army or whatever happened. And now he's about to do everything under the sun to get this lady back. And we gonna ride along with him. He about to kill and murder and everything else in crazy ways. And we riding along with him because it's slightly misshapen because we're riding along for the, the ride of like, and never once are we like, this is a serial killer. Like, because at the end of the movie,
talking John Wick,
could be. I mean, like, that's one of them. Because like at the end of the movie, like there's like the cops ain't coming. Like, he just go home and start living life, making pizza. He got a new puppy. You know what I'm saying? So I diverged a bit, but that's like my anime lens. Like, and Bleach was one of my things that kind of like gave me that, especially shonen protagonists, in the fact that they're always people who want to strive to be the best. They want to do better. They want to protect people. They want to protect their friends. And like each and every one of you that listens, I want to protect you. I want to protect like your dreams and the things that you are going after, and focus that in a way that doesn't make you feel like you don't exist, because I know how that feels. I know playing a game and getting criticized in a way that made me feel like I'm like the scum of the earth and I've done something wrong, but I'm not being shaped. I'm being encouraged by the, like we said earlier, the good and evil fight. And I don't feel like I'm going to lose because they don't. And at least they don't lose in this way. Final Fantasy VII, the prime example, spoilers coming if you have not played Final Fantasy VII. But the game don't stop when Aerith dies.
Nah, that just starts to get good.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's a life thing. Like, you gonna lose sometimes, but ultimately you gonna win. And so that's like, in anime, that's one of my big things. So what is your favorite anime? Sorry for taking up all the time. Y'all know I love this.
So anime, bro. I've been waiting this whole time to tell you it's anime. Anime.
Anime.
A-I-U-E-O. Anime. So I know you said it like
that's not
89
fair.
times, but it's okay. So in the future, just let you know. Anime. So my favorite anime has...
Say it quicker.
Anime?
Anime?
Anime.
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 There you go.
Okay.
So the idea is I want to say as many things as I can about my favorites. So Dragon Ball Z is going to be one of those because it was my first exposure. But my actual favorite, I was thinking about this, like my actual favorite I'll watch again and again is Hajime no Ippo. The story of Ippo Makanuchi. It is a boxing rise to glory. And it's the idea of, it's a
One of the
relative
longest
character.
running mangas of all time. Like, go ahead. I'm gonna let you go. Go ahead. My bad.
So the whole thing was my initial exposure to it was just, I was fascinated because I just come from watching Baki the Grappler and just looking into like different fight stuff. And
Baki is
Baki
intense.
is crazy.
It's intense.
I can't call it my favorite, but it used to be one of my favorites because my fight style is modeled after Baki.
Okay.
But a lot of what I learned from Hajime no Ippo is more about the mentality, perseverance. The kid was a kid who had natural gifts, but he never realized it. But he started to train because of like many different reasons. But he started to realize that this is fun and I want to get good at something, so I'm going to keep trying. So the epitome of it is he started to get really good. And so the idea was add skills and start chiseling these things and the ethic that works with the team around you. He was great because of who was around him was great. And that's the evolution of like the whole series. Now it didn't finish well. It's not the same as it was in the beginning. It wasn't that great.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot of cool things about it. Like the catching of the leaves, how to learn a jab. I took that for real. And it made conceptual sense to me. So I learned some of my like boxing acumen from applying Hajime no Ippo stuff.
You know what's crazy about it? And another good thing that I love about this series is he was bullied, but never did he retaliate in a way that wasn't in the ring, even when he wanted to. Like mad because, people would mess with his girl or mess with somebody he cares about or beat up basically he wasn't Rocky ever.
That was like, Nakamura. Nakamura was that guy.
In terms of
the mentor.
But in terms, what I mean by Rocky, just to explain to y'all. So I mean, so when Apollo was getting Ebo would never, ever let somebody down like that. Like, no, I'm in here. Like, no, stop the fight. We done.
When he got Drago?
Yeah. Okay. He's like, stop the fight. Yeah. Stop. Like, his morals too strong. Okay. Like, now we got to fight. Like, stop. You gonna live. You'll heal. You'll fight again. But that's the kind of person he is. And that's the kind of thing when you think about, like when you fight for somebody, there's a right way to fight for somebody. And that was one of the animes that was, pivotal for me when I first started watching that. Because, anime was first because I didn't really get... my bad. It's a country thing. It's a pronunciation of my southernness. But I also understand it's the same way I'll probably tell you, if somebody was like New Orleans. I'm like... New
Orleans?
That's what... You can say that, but I'll be like New Orleans.
North Carolina?
Or don't ever say Arkansas. I will fight. It's Arkansas.
I've said it so many times. And don't take offense, but I love saying Arkansas.
It's it's not the thing. But see what I'm saying? But that's the same thing.
I do.
So it's more of a, I know in my brain, I'm trying to, especially I try to be better, especially there are words that I intrinsically say a certain way because I've heard them so much. Yeah. Golly, I can't think of how to say how my name is all of a sudden.
Watashi wa? Boku wa?
No. God, I'll think about it later. Sorry, y'all. Don't want to drag this down. I want to get back to this goodness because this is a good episode for me. But EPO, in another sense, like those are the things that I started to like pick up from all the animes that I watch. Like, how do you, or the biggest key I got, or how I would think about it, walking in purpose is never easy. And because it's never easy, you have to acquire new skills. And when you acquire new skills, that means that you have new enemies. And with new enemies, like, you got to acquire another skill. You got to keep fighting. Like, you might lose a battle, but you will never lose the war. You know, one of the scriptures that I always, like, very much implore to people is when they say no weapon formed.
Doesn't mean it won't be formed.
It means that it's formed.
Uh-huh.
It also doesn't mean that it's not going to cut you. It just means it's not going to prosper. Like, prosper means
it'll never victoriously overcome you.
Exactly. And that was like the thought of like seeing the way a shonen protagonist stereotype is always that. You gonna get knocked out. You gonna lose, quote unquote.
Goku.
But it's in the DNA that the stronger the fight, the closer they come to death, whatever the case may be, they are coming back stronger, period. Like, you can't beat me again because you can't fight that past me no more. You know, I'm not there.
Christ was the lamb. He's
So
coming back as the lion.
So that just kind of like, that's what encourages me, why I always enjoy this medium, why I always enjoy watching the shows that I watch, and why I dive so deep into all of these things, and why I encourage people, why I kind of give you the map to kind of maneuver through all of these things, because in the same way that you're talking from when you were playing Grand Theft Auto 3, it's a very slippery slope. And I'm not one of them people who like games influence you this way, but I am a person who says games can influence. I'm not saying it's a widespread thing and it's the bane of America's existence and it's why America is turning bad.
It's a principled awareness.
Yeah.
And the ability to discern is also the comfort you can receive from who you trust to guide you. So everything that we talked about, I want this to make what you made it make sense to me. Is that anime and manga and video games themselves are not anything but tools.
Yep.
And the way you perceive a tool can be how it's used. And the goal is to not judge it or say that puts you on the outskirts of society because you involve yourselves in it.
Right.
Matter of fact, now video games make you a lot of money if you're good at it. So the goal now is to take the stigma that me and you probably grew up with as we're geeks. I love it. I'm fine. I'm a geek. I'm a nerd. Fine, dude.
Whatever.
Because there's a mental appeal that I gravitate towards these adventures, these excursions in my mind. When I can go into a platform, play a game, and live through the lens of what I'm experiencing. So the idea is it's thoughts and it's thought nurturing. So when we're able to say, okay, some of these thoughts are garbage, please don't imbibe them and keep them as your own. Yeah. But don't necessitate it to avoidance, because now I'm not going to not play a game because there might be something in there that isn't good. Well, what is good? So ultimately speaking, if we're here to tell your listeners that, hey, there's value in games, absolutely. There's value in reading a book, but I'm not going to go tell you to read Harry Potter. So it's really up to who believes in what we believe
But
in.
there's value in you going and talking about it. And like, so while you may not say that to somebody, like if I said, like, so if you have, I know a lot of people, we play the Hogwarts Legacy every now and again.
I'd rather go play Narnia, but okay.
But no, and I get why. And I get, but the thing about it in terms of what I'm, the piece or.
For you, I was also one of the Potterheads, so don't not.
Oh, no, I know. But the discernment aspect of it that I kind of want to give people, you are going to go places. You're not separate. And you're going to go places and you're going to illuminate. And because you're different, because you are doing things in a way that's not the same script, you're going to inspire people. You're going to encourage people because you're not there to judge them. You're not there to shame somebody.
Amen.
You're not trying to condemn somebody. You're there to like encourage them, and you can change these atmospheres. Like I think about all the time when people talk about Call of Duty voice chat lobbies and how toxic they can be. There's somebody who's trying to be different, and I'm telling you right now, keep doing it. That I'm saying there's somebody that's like just encouraging people and being nice to people. They're like, yeah, get out of here. Keep doing it.
You are acknowledged.
Like we see what it is that you're doing. And I think that that's what I've always wanted to do with this podcast and why I always, mention my spirituality and things of that nature is because to create that space, to create you that representation of letting you know that, yeah, I watch this stuff too, but I don't allow it to be at the head of my life. I don't allow it to change how I see people or what I want to do for people.
Nor should it deter your faith. It shouldn't be something that you have to supplant or replace. It can be included.
And I encourage you because that's, a lot of times fear is the reason people speak against whatever it is.
Ignorance as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's fear. Like fear is ignorance in a sense. Like, because if you don't, like, the more you know about it, like when you are a kid and you're scared of monsters under the bed, but the more you know that it's just your stinky socks and everything else, and that, like, it's not those things. And that when you're fighting spiritual warfare, that you as a kid are more than equipped. Like that stuff you watch, like you got all that. You got all that. Because there it's a different thing for you to do that.
Superbook is fantastic.
Oh.
Check that one out.
Okay.
That's the Bible anime.
It's lit. It's up. It's up. But yeah, so that's why I wanted to do this podcast or do this episode, and we're gonna do more New Game Pluses because I want to like deep dive into other stuff that we watch. Like if we're talking about something that we're watching or doing whatever, but I want to this is the place where, because I got you as my partner in this and doing something that will illuminate those things that I want to illuminate for people, because you exist. You don't have to change. You don't have to drop your faith because you're playing this game because somebody told you that you are this. Like, no, you don't. Like, you can be the voice, you can be the light, you can be the salt that seasons this place that needs a little seasoning,
Yeah, think of it like you're acquiring skills to add to your level ups.
Yeah.
And as we start with an HP bar that might be 10, and we're going through these things and these concepts are being nabbed at us and we start to get to 2, well, it doesn't mean that the next day we're not going to be able to start fresh.
Yeah.
So the whole point of, I guess, enduring the struggles of being the people who like this stuff is also the joy. Is that the more of us that
I know what I'm going to
things,
use as the thumbnail. I'm going to use the Titus laughing.
Hi.
The
really
most the
loud
cringe. Dog, that's what I'm using as the thumbnail, man.
I love it.
But yeah, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate you. We're doing this with me. Here's to many more. Y'all will hear a lot more from Eugene. Just because, like, this is ultimately why I do the podcast. Like, a lot of times it don't sound like that. It probably didn't come out that way to y'all, but I do it for the people like me. I do it for the people that's not like me. I do it for all of y'all that just be encouraged by the positivity of the medium that you're choosing to enjoy. Amen. And understand that it's not your total life. You're a person that's like enhanced by this. You're enhanced by this in the same way that those characters are enhanced by changing their equipment and using those tools and everything else.
And we do want to plug that we do want you to share our faith, and we want you to go to Christ and realize that that's everything, and that will set you for up and away, which means forever.
Right. So definitely for those that this is the ride that you're on. If you're not on that ride, like, hey, this is door open. I ain't judging you for where you are. I'm telling you the door is open. I'm saying there are things here for you too. And you don't have to be separate because you enjoy something that people have told you is this. Like, because everything in some way, shape, form, or fashion was created by the Lord, and therefore the only time that it's deformed or in a different state is by the choices of people that you do not have to be like. Right. So just like I said, I'm not gonna soak y'all down with a sermon because I want you to listen to me. You can come see me for a sermon. But on here, I want you to have the same kind of fun and fellowship that we have with these mediums. All the socials are down in the description. You have anything you want to promote? Your freestyle sessions? Because you do those?
I suppose that in the future that will get better planned, but Rap Chat, Gohan Jr., and Instagram, EJMJ27. And the idea is learning from somebody who does things like you. You're a man of action. So this will grow into something else that I have conceptions for.
Okay.
And I'm grateful. So thank you, brother.
So y'all go subscribe, run my man numbers up. And yeah, we'll see you again on the next one. A 1 and a 2. And peace.
Peace.